again. This is Rachel from NTL Creativity. For those of you who are just getting started with us, NTL Creativity stands for Never Too Late Creativity. And we would love it if you would subscribe below. We would love to have you subscribe, maybe even ring the bell for notifications, because we are really trying to make sure that we get really good content out to you to help support you in your creativity. Now, if you're looking at the slide and you're going, wait, Rachel, you said creativity. This says study skills beyond note-taking. This is a video series specifically for students and for teachers and for solopreneurs like me who need to figure out how to get into kind of a productive groove. But a lot of the same principles for study skills will apply to creative spaces. And by that I mean we're gonna talk about some of the principles of how the brain works and like what environment has, what effect an environment has on that. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to go ahead and put that into some practice, and we're going to make some goals. So if you are here because you love creativity, I'm so excited. Welcome. If you're here because you're looking for academic content, welcome, welcome. Okay. So just to kind of start off, I am an educator with 17 years of experience. I started teaching piano lessons at 17 when I was a senior in high school. And so I've got private music lesson teaching, private academic tutoring teaching, public school teaching experience. I have a master's degree. I started a doctorate program. So, and like I said, I'm a solopreneur. So we all, like all of these life experiences have really taught me some really good ways to sharpen memory and to make sure that you are able to assist your brain in retaining information. Okay. So with that, let's head into the first slide. Here we are. Choose the photo that best describes your current study space or your current creative space. Are you typically in front of the television in maybe a common living area? Some of us don't really have any other options. I know when I was a senior in high school, that was really kind of my only space. It was surrounded by people. So there's absolutely no judgment. If there's one of these that just resonates with you, frankly, if there's one of these that really is your jam, you do your best studying there, again, there's no judgment. So first of all, there's that like kind of TV living area space. Then maybe there's the coffee shop vibe where, you know, you've got your hot beverage. There's a lot of movement, but you're not really in the middle of it. No one really bothers you. So, you know, there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of activity, but you're pretty much on your own. So you're really just surrounded by white noise. Oh, here's the cluttered desk that's an old desktop. If there's one wrong answer, this might be it, but one person's clutter might be another person's organized chaos. So again, no judgment, but if there was a wrong answer, we'd probably all kind of say it might be this one. And finally, do you kind of use a cubicle or a quiet space in a library to do your best studying? And honestly, if you're sitting here going, consistent current study space, I don't have one of those. That's cool. Like we all come at a different place. So please don't judge yourself. Please don't feel like I'm judging you. This is really just kind of where are we starting and what can we learn to really make sure that we're getting what we need out of our study spaces. Okay. So first question off the bat, how does your current study space work with you? Now, what I mean by this is what good things, what do you love about your current study space? So when I go to a coffee shop, one of the things that I love is that I can get snacks or I can get something warm to drink, and I get that warm fuzzy feeling that really makes me feel comforted, but I don't have to clean up afterward. And that's huge for me. The other thing is I really love that there's activity and there's sound, but I don't have to engage with it. So if you were like, I love the coffee shop for that, great. I literally had a tutoring student, we met at Panera, and I asked her at one point, because she kind of had trouble focusing, I asked her, hey, would you like me to meet you at your house instead, or would you like to go to the library? And she actually told me straight up, I like working at the coffee shop because it gets me out of the house and the background noise keeps me focused. And you know what? It worked really well for her. For another student of mine, we were going to meet at the library and he had a panic attack, poor thing. And I actually said, you know what? No big deal. I will come to your home and I will tutor you at your kitchen table. And that ended up working so well for him. So again, like there's no wrong answer. It's really whatever works best for you. But I really want you to think through, what are the things that your current study space are doing to help you in your studying? Okay, so I'm going to give you a second, or you can pause this video and you can think about that. What does your current study space do to work with you? So for me, I am currently making this video. It is almost 9 o'clock at night and just about everyone else is in bed. That's because this is a time when I get to be alone. Now, the time of day, we'll get into that a little bit later, but the time of day has less to do with why I'm making this video right now. And it has more to do with the fact that I don't have my bird on my shoulder distracting me from this activity. Okay. And as much as I love Jacques, and he will definitely show up in other videos, this is a video that I really needed to make without his assistance. Okay. So my current study space is that I need to have a closed door. I need to have my dual monitor so that I can look at my notes, and I can look at the camera. And that works really well for me. Okay. So again, either write a list or kind of mentally jot down, what is it about your current study space that works with you? Now, we would be remiss if we didn't also ask this question. How does your current study space work against you? Okay, so one of the things that my current study space works against me is, you'll probably see it a little bit in the background of the video, I only have one room where I can kind of live and sleep. So my bed is in the background, and that really doesn't work for me. And so one of my goals is that eventually I will create 2 separate spaces so that I don't feel like I have this background, and I can have what I feel is a more conducive environment. That way also I can go to bed without thinking about work, because right now I can see my desk. And so when I'm laying in bed, unfortunately, one of the first thoughts that comes to mind is I need to do that for work. So separating those spaces for me is going to be really helpful. It might not work for you. Again, you do not need to do this my way just because it works well for me. So I want you to look, how does your current study space work against you? So if you're usually doing your homework at the kitchen table while people are making dinner, that may work really well for you because you can ask questions, you can talk about what you're learning, that might be great. But if it's not working for you, if the thing is that you get sucked into whatever's on the television, or if you get distracted, no judgment, just acknowledge that is working against you, okay? So we're going to go into our first pro tip. Identifying the things that are or aren't working in your current study space will help you find the right study space that will set you up for success. Okay, so again, I'm not going to tell you you have to study in the morning and you have to have a separate space and blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to give you a prescription because I don't know, I'm not like coaching you one-on-one, so I don't know your unique challenges or your unique personality. But if you're able to sit down and authentically analyze, you know what? I love being in a coffee shop, but it makes it difficult to make videos, and that's part of my job, then that tells you some information. that tells you that maybe this isn't the right spot, but maybe a little closed off room in a library would be better, right? Because it is away from your home, but it's also got that closed door and you can reserve it ahead of time. So again, I'm not telling you what to do, but I want you to really start thinking, what are the things that I like about where I'm working? What are the things that I need to change because they're not working for me? The other thing to realize is these things might change. Okay. I'm currently 35 years old. And as a result, my life has gone through some changes. There was a time when working at my house was the best idea. There was also a time when working somewhere else was the best idea. I have since learned kind of how to do both, but I think it's important for you to realize that maybe as a kid, listening to music with words didn't really affect your ability to concentrate. It might affect your ability to concentrate now, and that's okay. So I want you to kind of think through, yes, this might have been the way that it worked, but if it's not working anymore, it's okay to just make a quick change, okay? So here's our check-in. Excuse me. Name one thing you're going to change about where you study to support your brain. So go ahead in the comments, tell me what's one thing that you're going to change about where you study to support your brain. So we're really just going to focus today on just where you study. Now, the next video that I'm going to do is what time you study. Or you can take that word study and you can change it out for where you're creative, or when are you working from home. This is when are you going to be productive in your space? When are you going to engage your brain in a specific activity? All right. I will say, here's kind of your bonus tip, I guess I would say. We have learned that the brain uses sensory cues, including sight, smell, and so on and so forth, about what information it accesses at a specific time. It's one of the reasons that people who have post-traumatic stress disorder have things we call flashbacks, because they have a visual or an olfactory or an auditory or a sensory signal in their brain that taps into a traumatic memory, and it makes them feel like they're reliving it. Now, you don't have to have PTSD to actually turn this into your superpower, okay? Sorry, I got distracted for a second. When I was a kid, I think I was in a 7th grade science class. We had a science teacher, because she was all scientific and she was a master's student. She decided to do an experiment, and we got to have mints in our mouths while we were taking a test. And she wanted to see, what's the average test score from all of the other classes. And then, we were the one group that got mint. And so she was going to compare that to our previous test scores and to the other class that didn't get mint. Now, I never found out the results of that exam. But my sister, who was in a psychology class in high school, she got in the habit of eating an orange every morning when she went to psychology. And the reason she did that was exactly what her psychology teacher had taught her, which was that when you have sense memories, you're able to access the information better. It's really funny. One of the experiences that I had, I was putting on lotion at one point, and all of a sudden I had images from a certain TV show just start flooding my mind. And I was like, why? And then I realized when I bought that lotion, I was I was watching this TV show. I think it might have been Lois and Clark. And it was so funny how my brain, I was doing something completely different. My brain had associated this scent with Superman, and specifically the 90s Lois, Superman and Lois. Not Superman and Lois, that's the new one. Lois and Clark show. Okay. So it's just so funny how our senses are so integral to our being able to focus and to retain information. So that's your bonus, is if you really need to harness the information in a quick manner, make a ritual of some kind. Now, your ritual might be, I always go to the coffee shop, just like it was with my student who was like, I need to go to the coffee shop. She would get a drink, we'd sit down, we'd laugh over the vocabulary, and we'd do some things, but she learned how to study. And in addition, she was able to grow in confidence in her ability to learn. Okay, so she did a great job. But I think some of that was because she had that sense memory and she had that ritual. And to the point that eventually she was able to step away from the ritual because she had learned the process of studying. So if you are looking at creating a creative space, you might need to move your creative space out of your workspace. Or you might need to change up sceneries because your brain might need a literal reset of location before it can tap into that new space. Okay? We're going to keep learning a lot about this stuff. The brain is really fascinating, and we're just starting to understand a little bit about what is going on here. But I am so excited to kind of go on this journey with you. I'm going to make another video tomorrow about how to choose when to study and the pros and cons of when to do that in the morning or in the afternoon or a few days later, whatever. I'm really excited about that video. But generally speaking, when you're thinking about where you're studying, try to make sure that it's in the same spot. And if you have to take a little bit of time to figure out where that spot is, that's okay. Try to make sure that you can kind of engage your senses in your learning. Again, we'll learn that a little bit more in your environment, but really think about what's working with you when you study, about where you're located, and what's working against you. And try out different things. You know, if you've always sat in front of the television to study and you always kind of get distracted, then maybe this is a time to try something new. Okay? I am so excited to hear how this works for you. So let me know in the comments how this advice has helped. If you have additional questions or things you want me to cover about study topics, I would love to do that. Okay, so again, this is Rachel from NTL Creativity. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I look forward to hearing from you. Have a wonderful, productive study time, and enjoy the rest of your day.